In last year's Showroom Stock C race, Joe Lipperini in his white and black Honda led the 21-car field away from the green with John Heinrichsey in the yellow Cobalt in close pursuit. A bit further back in the field, Larry DeLude got into some early trouble. And Heinrichsey had trouble hanging on to second place as Joe McClugan was at his door handle. Then Heinrichsey went for the lead on lap 8, but Lipperini didn't make it easy, forcing Heinrichsey to go around the outside. Further back, a bit of a military battle erupted as Tim Myers took on Jeff Jensen in his camouflage Mazda. Up front, Lipperini kept attacking in a fierce battle for the lead, and Heinrichsey was literally flying. But at the line, a streak of yellow flashed below the checkers, and John Heinrichsey had his 11th championship after an intense battle. With last year's gold medalist not back to defend, the field in Showroom Stock C this year has been thrown wide open. And one driver hoping to capitalize is Ali Naemi. Last year he recorded his best ever runoffs finish with a 4th. He's had a great season in the Northern Pacific Division on his way to a championship, and thinks this year might well lead to a podium. Speaking of great divisional seasons, Joe McClugan had a cracker. 10 wins as he went to the Southwestern Division Championship. Last year he got his best runoffs finish, a bronze. He's hoping to step up a couple of steps on the box. But when you talk about successful divisional seasons, Joe Lipperini, the 2-time champ, may have rewritten the books. 7 starts, 7 poles, and 7 wins on his way to the championship in the division. When you factor that with runoffs math, it all could mean a 3rd gold.
Greg, that is certainly a great season, but in terms of numbers, it's hard not to call the driver of this car the championship favourite. Bill Hegarty has had an amazing 11 victories on the year, and at 68 years old, he just seems to get better with age. Now, 47 years his junior, Mark Mackay, is a young man who has shown great speed in the Southeast Division, winning the championship with 4 victories and is hoping to improve on a 6th place finish in 07 on debut. John Saucher won the Midwest Division with 7 wins, and in fact, this is his 17th consecutive divisional championship. And 2 years ago he finished runner-up at the runoffs. He feels confident he can grab the gold this year.
Speed's coverage of the Sports Car Club of America's 45th running of the National Championship Runoffs continues today as Showroom Stock C will unfold in their 18-lap battle for the National Championship and the gold medal. Hi everybody, and welcome to Heartland Park, Topeka, Kansas. The 3rd year SCCA's runoffs have been hosted by this phenomenal facility. Great to have you with us. And we are looking forward to a great run here in Showroom Stock C. And as the name implies, they are basically stock-based cars. And that means this track is going to present some very unique challenges, Calvin, for these drivers.
Absolutely. When you look at the configuration of Heartland Park Raceway, you can see there are a couple of dyno runs for these guys along the front stretch here and also down the backside as well. But a massive corners, and as you mentioned, Greg, limited modifications to these race cars really put a heavy emphasis on managing your tires today.
And at this point, we've talked a little bit about the fact that they're showroom stock, but a little bit more specifically, Cal, tell us about Showroom Stock C.
Well, Showroom Stock C is the slightly less powerful of the 2 showroom stock classes. Late model cars, mass-produced. There's over 30 models that are eligible to run in this class today.
So there you have a look at the class. Now let's get some information from the pre-grid. Biz?
Well, guys, Steve Christopher started his racing program in a great old circuit, Magny-Cours, France. That was 25 years ago in a program called Pilote Elf, much like our Formula Fords. Now, Steve has not had a good weekend here in Kansas. He missed the first 2 qualifying sessions, and he ended up 16th on the grid. I'll tell you, he'll be happy if he finishes in the top 10. For some more, let's go down to Justin Bell.
Well, I love this story. Sam Ryan in his number 70 Honda Civic is actually a driving instructor. I always thought that teachers were people that can't do, but he does. He teaches defensive driving to all those corporate types who need a little bit of help for insurance purposes. But the real story is that Sam and his wife have just entered into wife swap on national TV, and it looks like he is going to be trading in his family for some country club woman, and he's really looking forward to getting her involved in the world of club racing. Wouldn't we all?
Well, that's going to be an interesting story to follow up on, isn't it? And we'll be doing that in just a little bit here at Heartland Park, Topeka. They're going to attack this course with a rigorous attack when we come back. 18 laps. Showroom Stock C became a national class for the Sports Car Club of America back in 1977, and every year since, they have been going after a national championship. That's the race that's going to unfold today here at Heartland Park, Topeka. The cars are out on their pace and parade lap, and this category has certainly evolved being showroom stock not only as a playground for drivers, but as a proving ground for car manufacturers, tire manufacturers, and the like. And Calvin, I think when we take a look at today's grid, we're seeing a classic example of the cream rising right to the top.
Absolutely. With the top 4 drivers on the grid have an amazing 32 victories between them this season alone in their division and 42 runoff appearances. But lots of experience there. The only national champ, however, is Liberini. He won this class back in 02 and 04, so never had a victory here at Heartland Park. Maybe today will be his day.
All right, we just got a report that the 40 car, who has qualified 12th, that's Jeff Jensen, has had to stop in the pits, an early problem. We'll try and update you on that. Meanwhile, let's get down to John Bizignano.
Well, actually, guys, let's think about this for a second. These people are going to go out racing hard in a car that's absolutely stock. It has stock tires, stock shocks, stock suspension, stock cooling, stock steering. Everything in the car is basically showroom stock. Now, to make one of those cars go really, really fast takes one heck of a talent. Puts on a great show. You're going to enjoy this one. Let's go down to my pit partner, Justin Bell.
Well, as you just said, there isn't much you can do to these cars, so tires play quite an important choice. It is somewhat of a personal choice. You've got Kumho, you've got Hoosier, and you've got Hankook. Now, an interesting fact is that the Kumho is actually 5 pounds heavier per tire than the other two, which means there's an awful lot more rolling mass involved. But as I spoke to one of the front runners, and he said for me, he likes his Hoosiers just because they give him great feel. He doesn't have quite as much power, but he has great handling. It really comes down to quite a war of the streets, and there's an awful lot of street cred involved, therefore money, which translates into the road users. Guys?
Absolutely, and I mean the guy that has qualified outside of the front row, last year's silver medalist Joe Lipperini, running the Hankooks, was undefeated in his division this year. 7 starts, 7 wins, and this is indeed a very important proving ground.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, there's nothing like winning a national champion. Division is great, but this is the one where you really get the rewards from having a great season, and all of these boys want to bring it home today, and certainly those 3 tire manufacturers involved, they want to see gold as well.
The only modifications you can make, and modification is not really an accurate word, is safety. You got to have a roll cage, a racing seat, you can put on a racing wheel, that sort of thing, but the rest of it is absolutely stock. And sometimes you'll be very, very good about the components you pick to put in the car to make sure that they are the absolute best. And when it comes down to determining the absolute best, we're about to find that out. There is the number 40 of Jensen. He's got that beautiful camouflage car on track, although he had to give up his qualifying spot. He'll start at the back, and we are about to start the Showroom Stock National Championship. Coming to the line, 18 laps. And we are green, and right away, McClugan, the pole sitter, picks up the lead, and Lipperini immediately tucks in right behind. But a nice move there is Haggerty, Cal, from 4th, showing that experience he has, jumping up into 3rd.
Nice move there. He's a man who's had 11 victories on the year. Gets a little wide there going through turn 1. That may cost him on the exit there. Tracks all the way out. No one able to take advantage of him. But look at Lipperini now, looking down the inside of McClugan.
That's one of the things, that Mazda 3 tends to run a little heavier than that car that Lipperini's driving, that Honda Civic SI. And we talk about showroom stock, folks, look at the lean angles that these cars have. They really roll over in the corners. Biz?
Just very quickly, guys, that start was planned. They were talking about it in the paddock, and they executed it perfectly. Now, on the second lap, everything is going to go, well, what's ever best for everyone on the track.
Well, you can really see the body roll there. I mean, this is why these tires have to be managed. I mean, they take so much load. Ideally, you want a pretty flat platform, but a car that is designed to run on the street obviously has to negotiate curbs and bumps and potholes on the road, so the suspension is not set up like a typical race car. And there you see the lean, the body angle as you come through that corner.
And the fact that curbs are optional.
Right, and they're going to be using plenty of curbs here today, so that'll certainly work to their favor. But this battle up front is certainly heating up. Haggerty has certainly got the tires up to temperature now. Seemed to struggle in the early corners, but now he's doing okay.
Saw John Saucher in that 5th spot take a little bit of a look. And look at Jensen. Boy, is he absolutely lit the fuse, charging up through the pack here. He's already up into, I think it might be 13th. He just went by the 43 of Brian Bogart. So at Pike Peak Motorsports, Mazda is on the prowl right now.
Doing a great job. That's certainly a unique color scheme on that vehicle. There's nothing else like that out there in the paddock, but
support our troops. So by the way, we were updated. The reason that he had to make the stop is the fire extinguisher that you have to carry on board popped out of its spring mount, and they had to lock that back down again. Meanwhile, here we go, our top 3 opening it up just a little bit. Here's McClugan, then Lipperini, and then that white number 7 of Haggerty. That's the Chevy Cobalt. So 3 different manufacturers represented right here in the top 3.
Lipperini to the inside. That was close. He nearly got into the left fender there, McClugan, and Haggerty through this area of the racetrack doesn't seem to be able to keep that Cobalt tracking like the 2 leaders right now. He runs really wide through the carousel, but maybe he can get the car dialed in a little bit, adjust his lines.
Lipperini, when I was talking to him, he said this has just been a wonderfully bizarre year for him. He said because he started his own race prep business. He said I've really been focusing on that, and I haven't been focusing as much on my racing, my program, my car. I've been working on customers. And he said I've never had a year anywhere near this good. And he said it really. He said I'm just much more relaxed going in for my stuff, and it seems to really be paying big dividends. And then you've got the experience of Haggerty right there, number 7 in chase. Then that little bit of a gap now back to Mark Mackay.
They certainly have gapped these guys, but this thing will settle down here a little bit. I think Mackay certainly has the speed. He showed it in qualifying with a 3rd place position on the grid. Didn't have a good opening lap, but trying to get back into his rhythm. And this racetrack really has a great rhythm to it, particularly through this section. It's very technical. You have to really hit your marks through here, very much like an autocross, as you said, Greg. Using the curbs a little bit, but you can't overcharge these corners, otherwise you immediately miss the next one.
Lipperini, you can't even see a gap between he and McClugan just in front. That's how close he is, just keeping the pressure on, trying to get him to run off the tires. And meanwhile, here's a look at number 2, John Zabrinski, who obviously has had a little bit of a tweak there. That mirror's dangling, so he's been into somebody or something.
That mirror's wiggling there on the side of the car, but hopefully he doesn't have anyone try and make a pass down that side. He's not going to see him coming. Here we see the incident, just good tight racing, and boom. Wow, that was more of an incident than I thought we were going to see from a mirror being clipped. Nearly went upside down.
He got into Bill Seifert pretty good there. And actually, that's one of the, I believe, one of the customers of Lipperini. You see that Race Labs on the side, and oh, we've got Lipperini has gone to the front. He has made the move somewhere, and that Race Labs Hankook-tired Honda now is leading, and McClugan giving chase. Now, keep in mind, McClugan is hoping to get the Triple Crown. He won his division. He won the prestigious June Sprints at Road America, and a win here would give him that. Looked pretty good when he had the pole, but 2-time champ Lipperini now running a little wide, but I don't think he lost a lot of momentum there, Cal.
Seemed to get the power down well, just using all of the road. And again, I think you're going to see these boys using all of the road, the curbs, and more. So here we see the pass for the lead. This is Lipperini having more exit speed coming off the chicane, and then just dives to the inside. He'd thought about it the lap before, got close. This time he commits, rolls into that corner with a lot more speed than McClugan, and takes that position away.
Boy, he just threw it in there, had that front end folded up and over, but knew it was going to stick. Lipperini, a lot of experience here, and now let's see if he's going to be able to open anything up. McClugan is going to stay right there, working those curves and the grass and the dirt on the inside of the curbs. Showroom stock racing at its best, underway for a national championship.
Ian Stewart is enjoying his first year of road racing, but he's certainly no rookie to competition. A multiple champion in solo racing, that's going around orange-covered cones in a huge parking lot. Let me ask you, that type of solo racing, how did that prepare you to go road racing?
It teaches you a lot about the setup needed to drive and the car control skills needed to compete in road racing.
Plus you have to learn a track very quickly. You only have one chance in solo.
Oh, definitely. You have to be able to look at the track in solo and immediately go out and produce, and that's definitely carried over to road racing.
And the biggest difference between solo racing and going road racing?
Oh, definitely the other cars around you.
There's a lot of people trying to do the same thing.
Yes.
And all the people down the side of his car, those are the individuals that have made it possible for him to be here in Kansas.
I'll tell you what, at this level of racing, friends are true friends indeed, and helping out. There is a look at Mr. Stewart. Ian Stewart running in the 7th spot right now. Ali Naemi right in front of him. And you can see there's a good 4-car battle, really. This is for the 4th spot from Mackay in the 18, the 31 Associé, the 2 red cars, then that white Mazda of Naemi, and then Stewart. And that's solo racing. I mean, Randy Popes, a guy who's had a fair amount of success in the pro ranks, started in solo. Peter Cunningham was a former solo national champ. It truly teaches you line choice and the ability to change directions in a hurry, and that pays off big dividends when you get into road racing as well. So Stewart, when you're a national champion in solo, that is an intensely competitive scene, and he takes a look at Naemi here, not quite close enough, but looking very strong, Cal.
Well, it teaches you how to deal with pressure because you're against the clock all of the time. It teaches you great car control skills, precision, and the only thing you then have to figure out when you go to road racing is dealing with traffic, which he has right now.
There's a look at the number 14 of Ali Naemi. Ali, pretty successful run here last year to 4th. This is his 11th runoff in that offlineracing.com Mazda Protege. And here we go. Now Stewart got a good run. Looks like he may have moved a little.
Why is he popping out there so early? Because he's going to lose any effect from the draft situation now, this long front straightaway.
Now we're going to drop back a couple of spots. Here's Jim Place, the number 38. That's the Place Reynolds Chevy Cobalt, and they're in a pretty good scrap. Larry DeLude, the number 71, that white-nosed yellow Mazda right behind him. Then the 70 of Sam Ryan, who Justin Bell talked about a little bit ago, the driver instructor, and then the number 3 of Richard Clark. So got some good racing going on here. These 3 now 9th, 10th, and 11th, as Place has opened it up just a little bit in the Cobalt.
They're having a great scrap through here. They seem pretty evenly matched, even though they're in different type race cars, as you can see. 70 machine. The Honda Civic seemed to get through the carousel extremely well. Chasing that Mazda down into turn 5. This is the real rhythm section. This is a great section of the racetrack. It just really flows really nicely.
One of the things with these cars, you could actually visibly see it on some, and this is where SCCA's job is indeed a difficult one, when you're taking all these different manufacturers and car types and trying to equate them so nobody has a dominant package. And you can take a look. Some of these cars run definitely a smaller, narrower tire because perhaps they're a little less powerful. So they, trying to get the weight advantages and everything. It is a difficult task indeed. But near the end of the race, tire management can be so key, because if you don't have a lot of tire, it's easier to run it off. There's a lot to consider in showroom stock racing.
Well, the driver input is massive in this class, certainly, and you've got the car underneath you. The Minis kind of dominated here back in 2006, and they got moved up to showroom stock B, so it's created really a wide open field. And with Heinrichs not being here this weekend, as you mentioned at the start of the show, it's anyone's game today.
Here's a good look going back even further. Another superb battle, the 43 of Brian Bogert. This is the battle for 14th, and all over the back of him is Steve Christopher, who's out of Olathe, Kansas.
There's a racetrack there somewhere. I'm not sure he even had the left sides on the track through that corner.
Again, for 14th, you find somebody and you go racing. I love that pin number. They do have some fun here when they go racing. I'm guessing maybe this budget comes from an ATM, huh?
Yeah, probably. Doesn't let his wife know about it.
Oh, look at this, Ryan.
This is going to get ugly.
3 abreast and somehow no contact in the story there. Yet is the key. The 38 of Place. Something has happened. There's another mirror. And coming up on this bunch, I think that may be the 65 of Hustig. So this is happening. So something happened with Place in the Cobalt. He was in front of this group, and he has now dropped way back. And you watch the 71 of Larry DeLude is now cleared out. He's already exiting turn 5 up there.
Hustig just tippy-toed his way through there. Here you see these guys going side by side, and then suddenly you see the 3 car appear. Total commitment down through the apex. Wow.
And a mirror, no mirror. And that is the 65 of Hustig, and that black machine closing right up on the back of this bunch. And that Kumho Tires Honda Civic. So great action here in showroom stock C. And there you see the 71 of Dulude, when all that was going on, has made good a bit of an escape and is drawing away. But up front, Lipperini leads by a little over half a second. Welcome back to Heartland Park, Topeka, the 45th running of SCCA's National Championship Runoffs. Today it is showroom stock C in the battle for the gold medals and the bronze, the silver. Those podium spots so prestigious. But as we have seen already in this race, it doesn't matter where you look. There are some great battles to be had. If you're running in the runoffs, you race as hard as you can. As the season's done, leave nothing on the table and know you've given it your all. And certainly that's what they're doing here. And up front of the group, that white. It's the Race Labs Honda Civic in the hands of two-time medalist Joe Lipperini, with Joe McClugan running in second. And there is the number 7 of Bill Haggerty, his 26th runoffs in that Hoosier Chevy Cobalt. And his best finish, believe it or not, was in 1993. He was second in the old showroom stock A category. As he continues to look very strong as he's trying to chase these two guys up front. Let's check in with Justin Bell with Lipperini's crew.
Yeah, I'm standing here with Wade Benson, who is crew chief for our leader at the moment, who is just waving enthusiastically at John Zabriskie, who's having a solo race at the back there. But obviously, right at the front of the field, you're not surprised at all that Joel got out front that quick.
No. He's a very good driver.
And you've had a season that has really seen him leading from the front of the pack, so pressure should be no problem.
Right, yeah. He's good under pressure. He works very well under pressure.
But as you know, this kind of racing, if you do get any space between the guy and, either the guy in front or the guy behind, it's very hard to make it up. So obviously with those, we've got quite a lot of laps to go. It does take an awful lot of discipline to hold it there, and that's what you've seen all season.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
Well, the other thing I must mention before we go back to the booth is the fact that, these cars, you see someone running, if you get 4 or 5 seconds behind someone, you are just going to live a life all on your own. So we're seeing that at various places through the pack. But remember, those guys are racing just as hard as the guys up front.
See one of those mirrors, I think it is, in the middle of the front straightaway. I don't think that'll cause any kind of caution issue, but drivers will need to be aware of that. Sometimes when you get in the thick of a battle, Greg, you suddenly forget. You're tucked up behind someone coming off that final corner, and suddenly you pop out and that mirror would be right there.
Absolutely, and I think Lipperini gets any closer to that one wall there in that front straight, he's going to lose a mirror. Meanwhile, let's take a look here. Oh, look at this. Ali Naimi thinking about trying the outside around the 18 of Mark McKay, but the story is in front of those two, it is now John Sauché. And look at this now, McKay going to try the outside of Sauché down into the carousel. It's a long way around and not quite going to be able to get it down. Boy, Sauché just tagged that inside curb really hard, and it loosened him up. But McKay was right behind him and really couldn't do anything with him.
Sauché, he is a very confident driver. I spoke to him the other day, so I've won 17 consecutive divisional championships. He said, I'm going to get a medal here this weekend. Right now he's in the 4th spot. He needs trouble for the leaders if he's going to get there, because there's a big gap up to those guys, about 10 seconds. But this is a great battle developing for the 4th position between 4 cars.
Extremely close action right there. And a little bit of a problem. Remember, we were watching the number 5 of Steve Christopher. He and Bogart were having that great run, and he's had a little bit of a problem and dropped off just a bit. So he's going to have to put his head down right and come up with it. And here's what happened, Cal.
Here we see him. He's really putting the pressure on the 43 car and just carries too much mid-corner speed there. Rear end can't hang on, and he didn't release the steering wheel to try and control that. Here we see it again. Just turning in through that really tight section. Turn 13 and just loops it around.
And we stood over in that section during some of the qualifying, Cal, up there in that section, and boy, you get that wrong at all, turning into 12 with too much speed, and that will be a problem for you. The 43 of Bogart now without Christopher hounding him a little bit by himself, comfortable position back in 14th.
Well, the problem is these cars lean so much, you only got one tire on the road anyway, so if you carry too much speed, you're really relying on one contact patch for a short while.
Yeah, it's called over-rotation, and it happens a lot in Showroom C. Welcome back to the National Championship battle in Showroom Stock C. Some of the key moments unfolding this far at the start. Our 2 front row guys said they talked a little bit, and this is exactly to plan. Pole sitter McClugan led in, Lipperini slotted in behind. Some good action and some close action, a little bit of contact and a little bit of airborne action for Zabriskie in that neon. And then, Cal, key moment for the lead.
Here we see it, Lipperini just dives to the inside. He thought about it the lap before. He just takes it in deeper that time, clinches the lead. He hasn't looked back.
And as a matter of fact, has opened it up by a little over a second now over McClugan. So Lipperini looking for a 3rd gold medal. Got one in 02 and 04. and now looking at one in 08 potentially, and he's definitely got this thing just covered right now. He really has found a rhythm.
He has, and right now what he needs to do is figure out, where am I really overloading the car? Where am I really using the car up? The 5 has spun again here. So Steve Christopher having some issues here, trying to keep that Honda under control, but giving it 1,000,000%. Here it is down into turn 1, gets wide there, gets 2 wheels in the dirt, and just total commitment. And safely comes to a stop. No drama, he's back underway.
Gonna hear some thumping maybe from those tires right now. That was a long slide right on the pavement right there. But you don't give it up, of course. It's the runoffs. You're just going to go after it. Now, here's number 4. Remember, he stopped during the pace lap. He had to come in and replace the, or actually put the fire bottle back in its mount. It had come loose. And he quickly moved up through a group of cars and got up into the 13th spot right now. But the story is there's James Place. Remember, he had been running well up into the top 10, knocking on the door of the top 5 not that long ago. So Place is struggling, has dropped back to 12th, and Jensen now has been able to get around him, and that should put Jensen up into that 12th spot.
There you see it's Mazda versus the Chevy Cobalt here. Mazda right front of this pair right now. Look at that body roll with that Cobalt coming off that final corner. Sometimes you're literally rolling out of your seat. You really need that safety harness keeping you in position. Just a regular street car suspension, as we talked about, so the body roll is massive when you try to put these sort of cornering forces through the car.
Almost looks like Place here, the number 38, just his straight line speed just seems to be lacking relative to everybody else. I don't know whether he's got a problem in the motor compartment, something, because he is just dropping back.
Yeah, he's got some kind of issues now. It's hard to really see him. Through the corner here, he looks pretty strong, so we'd have to think of some kind of power issue.
And here's this great scrum. The 31 is Saucher. There's the 18, which is the lone Toyota in this field, the Celica GT of Mark Mackay, chasing Saucher. Saucher has been able to ease away by just under a second, but still, in showroom stock racing, often that's a pretty good margin. There is Mackay, and then there's Naomi in that white Mazda.
Saucher finished 2nd here in 2006. Mackay finished 6th on his only visit to the runoffs, which was last year.
Drop back to a battle in the 9th spot right now. The number 3 of Richard Clark. That's the Hoosier tired Mazda RX-3. And we saw that aggressive move over the curbs earlier to get around the 70 of Ryan, and he has been able to make that stick. Ryan driving the Carbotech Honda Civic.
Oh, look at that 70 car. Sam Ryan really taking it in deep in the brakes. Can he make a move here? Down into 13. All right on his bumper there. Look at this. They're going to trade some paint here in a moment for sure.
Well, I tell you what, just give some kudos to our camera crew. That was great stuff, realizing how close that was, and if there was going to be contact, we were going to see it. We've got a great crew working with us here, and Hustig is watching this great battle. He's driving the number 65, the Kumho Tire Honda Civic, the black car with the red swoops on the side of it as they swoop down into turn 1 and 2. And again, just using the curbs and more. A little loose there for the number 3. Meanwhile, up top, it is still Lipperini, but the margin is going away. He had almost a 1.5 seconds in hand a couple laps back, and Joe McClugan is reeling him back in. The battle for the gold is on. We're back at Heartland Park, Topeka. It is Showroom C. That is the margin. 1 car length for the battle for the gold in this showroom stock category. And boy, Lipperini, that car now looks like, as he's throwing it around a little bit, Cal, looks like the back end stepping out a little bit more. And McClugan, you got to wonder if maybe he had backed up. Biz, any idea, did Joe just back off and save things a little bit?
Well, actually, with the tires that he has on the car, it's definitely that he was, you know, in the beginning of the race taking things a little bit easier. But I'll tell you, as Justin said, my gosh, once there's a space between these cars, it's just so hard to make up any distance. The reason is momentum. The drivers have to be perfectly smooth. Now, the Mazda engines out there, they have a little bit of advantage on the torque band coming out of the corners. But where you really can make up time, there's only one thing, guys: consistency and being incredibly smooth to grab every bit bit of momentum possible.
You can't afford to overdrive these cars on these tires. You really have to find out where the performance window is and stay within that. And when you think, oh, I need to start trying a little bit higher, you're just going to go slow. This is a great battle. They're really tight there between the 18th car of Mark Mackay.
Now Naomi, both
he's
of them
wide. He's going to cost him a position here, I think. Ian Stewart dives it down to the inside.
Yeah, you get just a little offline, and you got, and it's their own fault in a way, because they're the ones over the curbs and throwing the dirt up there, and then it costs you when you get into that and offline, and that's exactly what happened to Naomi.
Such a gamble when you try and go side by side through that fast chicane. If you don't get it, suddenly the guy behind you comes through there clean and typically gets a run on you down into the carousel. Here we see Stewart using all of the road coming out of turn 5. Hard on the brakes. Look at the brake dive. Look at the weight transfer going to those front tires, and that lifts that inside rear off the ground.
So basically in those tight corners, that loaded front tire becomes a pivot point.
Exactly.
It's really what
tires are so critical, Justin.
Well, you know, it's interesting because if you notice, I just talking to one of the teams, Sam Ryan's team, they're running across the board faster in today's race than they were in practice and qualifying. The reason for that is there's nothing much you can do with these cars, we said, apart from tweak the tire pressures. They're running up to 12 pounds higher in the rear. Now, you know, Calvin, as you know, from our kind of racing, that would be unheard of to have that sort of disproportionate tire pressures, but they need it to get more rotation, which means the car turns more as they go into the corners, so they don't burn off the front tires. And then what happens is they get more balanced as the race goes on. So that's what we're seeing here today. Back to you.
The only racing we do these days is in the rental cars, Justin, so... But
so
here we see the
stock stuff then.
Here we see the leaders going at it. McLugan really seems to have a good run going now on these Hoosier tires. Lipperini, of course, on the Hankook tires. Which tire company is going to get the gold today? Which driver is going to clinch?
You know, Lipperini's turn into the carousel there is much more aggressive and darty than McLugan's. McLugan's is a nice, smooth turn in, and look at them. There is no margin. He's going to come up the outside.
Lipperini goes to the inside. He defends. Look at McLugan right on his rear bumper. These guys are literally tied together right now.
Lipperini got out of that just a little bit stronger, which was a good thing.
Good clean driving though, Greg. I mean, so easy to turn someone around and take advantage of that, but they know that the SCCA officials are not allowing any dirty drivers. You may think you're going to climb the top step of the podium, but guess what? You may not take the gold medal home if you use dirty driving to get there.
And even in the unintentional moment, if it's just you get in a little too hot and lock up and take the guy and knock him sideways.
Look at this.
Now look at that, McLugan right there. Lipperini in the dirt. McLugan coming up along the side. This is going to be interesting, side by side, down into 10.
Fantastic driving by both of those guys, giving each other just enough room, and I mean just, like millimeters to spare. It is incredible when you're driving identical race cars running that close is one thing, but these cars have different performance characteristics, so McLugan is doing a great job of really analyzing that and judging it. Look at that, right on his tail.
Ooh, boy, that does a nice little bit of, I think he may have given him a shove, because suddenly Joel, the car went full push, but he was able to hang on to it. Here we go down this front straight, completing now lap 13, 5 to go. And Lipperini, talk about having to hang on under pressure. If McLugan keeps this going, 5 more laps of it, and traffic, Cal. Here we go. There is the number 2 of Zabriskie. That is the teammate, essentially, to Lipperini. Lipperini's shop does the prep for Zabriskie.
Well, you'd have to hope that the team that you see gets the point by. McLugan should be able to get through there cleanly as well. No problem, but traffic can always be a factor. When you see the traffic, you've got to judge it. You need to back off in the slow stuff, not let anyone get a run on you and gain that momentum that may make it for a pass. Look at this stuff as we come down in that very fast section. This is turn 8 and 9.
So look at that last lap when McLugan got up alongside, just to show you how close this is.
Look how close they are. They're literally touching them. McLugan looks to the outside. This is coming off the corner. Lipperini dives to the inside. McLugan sticks it there on the outside. Watch the side view mirrors, almost touching there under braking. And then he glues himself to that rear bumper once again.
Now back to live action, and McLugan alongside again, and this time it is side
He's got
by
a
side.
better run. Lipperini has the inside line. McLugan's going to take it high. There's the marble. He's going to be off the road. Can he keep it together? Will they meet when he comes back on? Passes him in the dirt. He has the inside line now for the fast turn 10.
Now the question is, will that be considered shortcutting? It was a little shorter run.
Liparini stays to the outside. He's now got the inside line. He rotates on the entry. These guys aren't hitting each other. Amazing stuff.
These guys, this is as close as it can get and as clean as it can get in terms of lack of any significant contact. That's not significant, right?
Robbins
there.
Racing. This is good, clean stuff. This is awesome. These guys are driving 10 tenths every lap, every corner.
Exceptional stuff. More of it to come. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back, everybody. This war remains intense. McClugan going to try and stick it around the outside. He may have it.
Oh, he's going to lose ground now. He's going to lose a lot of ground. That is not the move. We've talked about it all day long. If you commit down there and it doesn't come off for you, look at the ground. He now has to make up on Liparini.
Well, I think Liparini let him know, though, in certain terms, he was turning in. And the minute Joe got out of it, we talk about the momentum in this class, and that's it. But boy, is Joel Liparini right now, Cal, to me, looks like he is using up tires. Huge.
He really is pushing hard, but look at that. McClugan's already made up that gap. That's how much faster his race car is right now. That is why he's able to just glue himself to that rear bumper and just judge where he's going to try and get this move done. Liparini right now, see him there trying to grab a gear as he comes off that corner. He is really working hard. He's undefeated this year so far. I think he's going to have to work hard here with 4 laps to go to keep that record intact.
McClugan again trying the outside. Going to see if he can park it again. Going into that high-speed chicane. Liparini.
He's got the inside for this one. Liparini's going to be in the dirt this time. McClugan's going to get the lead here, I believe.
Oh,
now they rub on each other. Oh, he almost gets him sideways.
And one of them, you heard him on the rev limiter. Oh, and look at Liparini dives to the inside.
Amazing.
They touch.
They touch now. There was some contact. Liparini's got to recover here in the dirty part of the racetrack.
Oh, sideways. He saves it.
Great car control by Liparini to keep it together. McClugan's car is just better right now. Liparini hanging on for all he's worth. But I think it may be over, Greg. McClugan has just got a much faster race car, and now Liparini has lost the lead. How does he respond?
Well, I think Joe may have burned off those tires. As you said, you got to be careful with them, and you get these DOT tires too hot, and they completely go away. Let's go back and take a look at this. Talk about some awesome action.
Well, McClugan gets a run, and now he goes to the right side of Liparini. They touch there, and now they're going to come down into that fast chicane, and he has the inside of the road. So he's got the ideal line, but Liparini hangs in there. He doesn't get out in the marbles. Then he uses all of the grass, a little bit of the curb. He touches McClugan there. McClugan just keeps his foot in it and maintains the acceleration needed for the next corner. Look at this.
And I think right here, as soon as you see, wow, that was a lot closer than we thought from that other angle.
Great car control by both of these drivers, and then Liparini again forces it down the inside, gets sideways, and this is where it's going to get away from him a little bit. He's way out high. McClugan continues on the normal line. Liparini in recovery mode.
So there's the 36 now of Joe McClugan, Hoosier Tires, and that Mazda 3, and the margin has quickly ballooned up to about a second. And as you said, Cal, I think he's just got a bit more car under him right now. Liparini, an incredible defense, but he used it up. And we still have the better part of 3 laps to go.
The notion that racing has to be expensive in order to be enjoyed is firmly dispelled by John Zabriskie here, who has his Neon that I think you told me has cost you a total of $2,000 to get here to the racetrack. That sounds crazy.
Yeah, I have about $2,000 invested in the total car. I bought a car late last year and flipped it upside down on the roof. And then I bought this car out of the junkyard, salvaged the bits and pieces, bought a couple new things, but I have about a total of $2,000 in the car.
Well, I think you're a great inspiration for people, because certainly you're living proof that you don't have to have more money to have more fun. And ladies and gentlemen, this car is for sale.
Yeah, and it's about $2,000 plus a mirror.
Yes,
that's the fee right now. So
he had terminal understeer there as he came off that final corner. Look at him, he's punching the steering wheel. He realizes he made a little mistake there. He's looking over the wall, looking for some crew. Like, can you believe it? What's going on here? I mean, at the runoffs you see all just great efforts by all of these teams and drivers to be here and to do on that sort of budget of Justin mentioned. Just shows you if you want to go racing here in the SCCA, it's possible for everyone.
Well, and that's the story, isn't it? Whatever it is, you have made it to the national championships in the runoffs, so that's pretty special. Now, here's a look at the number 3, Richard Clark. That is the Hoosier McClugan Racing teammate to our race leader right now. Richard Clark, he is currently running in the 10th spot, and that is, I believe, he has gone around. Make that the 9th spot now, as he's gone around Brian Hoostig, I believe.
3 car is really running strong here today. Car looks beautifully prepped. Just good looking race car, that Mazda 3.
Takes a really wide line into that carousel. Squares it up. Let's go up, take a look at what's going on in the battle for 8th, and it's a good one. Excuse me. Here's where Brian Hoostig is, and he's basically attacking Sam Ryan for 8th right now. Ryan, the number 70, Hoostig in the 65. A couple of Hondas. Again, back in the 8th spot, but it is intense. Up in front, just going that flash of yellow, was Larry DeLude. That's the margin to 7th.
And this is the dyno run we're talking about. This is all horsepower here. Who's been tweaking on the engines the best? Nothing to do with aero, identical. He prepared aero cars. I mean, there's nothing you can do there, but certainly you can tweak on the engines, massage them a little bit. And a couple of horsepower at this level, Greg, makes a huge difference.
Huge difference indeed. Leader McClugan now on his final lap, and as you can see, these guys are just now turning into turn 10, which gives you an idea of how strong McClugan and Lipperini and Haggerty have been running at this point. Ryan turning it down and in.
Oh, he's sideways.
Oh, what a
Gets it
save.
together, pulls it out, jumps on the gas pedal with that front wheel drive and just straightens that car out. And we're in the final lap here for the leaders as these guys are going to approach the stripe for their final lap. And these tires are worn out. They've been really butchering these tires, torturing these to try and hold on to the position.
Well, that's the interesting thing about front wheel drive. It starts getting sideways like that. You just turn those wheel where you want to go and start squeezing the throttle and hope. And McClugan, boy, what a run. Since he got around Lipperini, folks, he's now over 5 seconds clear. So that tells you just what a strong car and how smart he was, Cal, in conserving things.
Tell you what I don't like. I think there's a brake line there over in the right rear corner. So maybe when he bounced over one of these curbs at some point, it may have dragged that down. You don't want that hanging there if it is the brake line, because that would be a big problem. But here you see the lead that he has. But now this is the battle for second. Look at Haggerty. He's got 11 wins on the season. He'd love to grab that silver medal. This is a battle for second position with just a few corners to go. Lipperini defends to the inside. Haggerty swings it wide.
Boy, this is it.
Oh, he's out wide. He's in the marbles.
He missed his turn in. That may be it. So Lipperini may have just got that little break he clearly needed because he has been struggling. Meanwhile, McClugan, and guess what, folks? We talked about it. He won his division. One of the races he won was the June Sprints, and he is coming up to get a gold medal and the Triple Crown. For Joe McClugan, an incredible season. His best finish ever was a bronze until now. Here we go, Lipperini, Haggerty, and Lipperini is gonna hang on for a silver, and I mean hang on. And I don't think anybody drove harder in this race, Cal, than Joe Lipperini, but Joe McClugan, what a heady drive, and he's brought himself a gold.
Well, we are in the winner's circle in Heartland Park, and Joe McClugan, after just a spectacular drive, has arrived here for his gold medal and a Triple Crown medal. Hey, guys, I hate to break this up, but one of the greatest, stay in here, Susan, one of the greatest drives of the weekend. My gosh, what was going on out there?
Joel's is tough. He's a tough competitor. I knew that if I could let him go, run his tires off, I could get back to him. Mazda 3, great little car, never let me down. It came right back to me, the Hoosier tires, incredible, right there every time.
Is this the best thing that ever happened to you in your racing career? My gosh, the emotion.
It's not the best thing that's ever happened to me, but it's the best thing that's ever happened in my racing career.
Congratulations, mate. Gold medal, Triple Crown.
Thank you.
Well, you can see what that means, boy, when you put your heart and soul into this. Nobody races more during a season than Joe McClugan. As we take a look at the unofficial results, he puts in more races traveling out of division and just loves driving. But in all the years he's been doing it, he's never got the gold. His best was a bronze. He finally brought it home, and you could see the emotion. He and wife Susan in tears, and that's what it's all about when you come home with a gold medal in the runoffs. And there's Joe Lipperini. As he talked about, nobody, I don't think, drove harder in this race than Joel, but he used it up to try and stay in front of that very quick Mazda McClugan's. Lots of close quarters racing, as you always see in showroom stock. It was a great show. And once again, congratulations to our medal winners, Bill Haggerty, Joe Lipperini, and a gold medal for Joe McClugan. Thanks so much for joining us, folks, and stay tuned to Speed for lots of action from the runoffs at Heartland Park, Topeka.